Hi, I'm coming at you from beautiful northern India and talking about something completely unrelated to my surroundings and life here. My Space Cafe video game. It's a beautiful October morning. It's very windy and hopefully you can hear me okay. If not, well, this is all we got. Okay, so this started out with a tweet. A friend of mine, Krister McFunkypants, sent a tweet saying, if you wanted to relax in a simulation or game, then what year would it be? So I said, I feel like the year 2342 or something, where I'd just be floating in my own spaceship or space cafe, making coffee for one or two alien friends who just stopped in for a cup. And this planted a seed in my head, and I just kept thinking about this like space cafe game, and I wanted to make a cooking game for so long now. So one day I was just feeling kind of unmotivated to work on my projects. I didn't really want to do any thinking or any coding, so I thought, okay, let me just find some space assets and start something. So there's someone named Kenney who makes amazing free, simple, low poly assets and also 2D assets too. I've linked all of his work in the description below, and I basically went onto his site and I got the space pack, I got the furniture pack, and I got the food pack. And I got working on modeling this 3D space place. So I just put in an audiobook, and for like a week or so I was just like fiddling with materials. I was designing what I wanted it to look like. I experimented putting in some aliens to see where they would fit and everything. I did some lighting adjustments, some material adjustments. I did some bloom post-processing for a nice glow effect, because every space anything needs glow. So yeah, I thought it started to look pretty good. It actually took me like 1 or 2 weeks just to get this layout. I was like, okay, this is taking way too long. I need to just stop and actually turn this into something I can interact with. So once I decided, okay, enough is enough with this level design, I decided to just put in a simple first-person controller. I used one of the astronauts from Kenney's space pack, and I put it in, and it was working with the colliders, and everything was good. Next, what I wanted to do was make some interactable items. Since you're in a kitchen, you have to be able to use things to make coffee and to get donuts and all these things. So I wanted to make it so that you can know which items are interactable. So what I did was I tagged every item that I wanted to be selectable with the tag selectable. I have a selectable class, which is actually an abstract class that I will use for multiple different selectable items, because some of the items I want to be able to pick up, some of the items I want to be able to use, and I don't want to have to recreate that selectable functionality for each one, so it can be extended by other classes. And so basically what it does is I have a selection manager that looks around the room, and anything you look at, if it's selectable, it will glow. So I have a ray cast from the mouse position, and whatever object it hits, it checks if it's selectable, and if it is, then it stores all of the materials of that object in a 2D array, because sometimes there's multiple different models and each model has a bunch of different materials. So it stores all of those in a 2D array, and then it replaces every single material with my selection material. And then when you look away, it replaces the default materials back onto the object. So that's how I did my selection functionality, and it was so satisfying for me to do, because I've never worked with materials before and renderers and meshes and things, so it's all very new to me and it's very exciting. So now that I had this selection functionality working, I had to actually do some interaction with these things. So I wanted to make a cup of coffee. Before I could even make the coffee, I was thinking, I have to find a way to classify these food items. So first thing, I made a food scriptable object, and within that I can set different attributes for different foods. So right now all the scriptable object does is holds a reference to the prefab model for the food, whether or not the food is edible, which means should it disappear when the customer is done eating it. It wouldn't disappear if it was like a coffee cup, for example. They're not going to eat the cup, but if it's a donut, the donut should disappear, that kind of thing. And how long the food takes to eat. And I can add more and more things if I want to make this more complex, but that's all I have so far. Then I made a food item script, and this is the script that basically it has a reference of which food we're creating, and then has a bunch of different functionality in it. So this class handles things like setting the entire object as selectable, creating the food, destroying or eating the food, and then it also has the inherited abstract function do action. So my food item class inherits the selectable class so that every food item will be selectable, and then I have these additional functionalities on top of it. So the food items do action function is just picking it up and putting it down. So I have left click to pick it up and right click to put it down. Pretty simple. After that, I finally could make my coffee machine interactable script, and this also extends my selectable class. And for my food, it's a food spawn script is what I've called it. And what I've given it is it gets a food that it's supposed to be spawning, and also a location to spawn the food in. So either it will be a set spawn point, like for the coffee machine, it's right in the coffee cup spot. But for things like the vending machine, where when you click on it, you just want to take it out in your hand. So basically there's options. You could spawn it in a spawn point or right in your hand. So those are the two options I have there. And these call the create food functions that are in the food item class. So they all work together nicely. So I have a couple of food items so far. I've got coffee and tea, and I have a frappe in a blender. And then I also have a vending machine full of sweets. After that, I was able to hold the food. I gave some animations to the barista, even though you can't really see it, but one is being able to lift your hand up and hold the food. So if you look down, you can actually see what food is in your hand. I wanted to be able to set down the food or anything that you're holding. So what I did was I created a new tag called table space, and the selection manager that I had before to look to see which items are selectable, I just extended that to look to see which items are table space. If I'm looking at a table space item and I right click, then it basically just figures out the point in which the raycast of the mouse position hits on the table space, and then puts the food there and then unnests it from your hand. So it's just setting it down on any table space available. Before, I had it where you could just set the food down on anything with the collider, like I didn't have the table space tag, and I kept accidentally throwing the food at the customer's face and it would just like stick to his face. Maybe I'll add that functionality back in the future if we have some bad customers. Anyway, last thing I did in terms of food creation was, and this is a bit over the top and unnecessary, but I just wanted to do it, was I created dishes. And so the dish class also extends the selectable class, so you could pick up and put down a dish. But I added some extra functionality where if you are to set down a piece of food on a dish, then it will nest the food in the dish object so that when you pick up the dish, the food comes with it too. But I also made it so that you could still pick up the food off of the dish and de-nest it and then put it back on the counter. So and then the dish object also has a reference to what food is on it, so that when you give it to the customer, they'll know what food is on it. I tried extending the dish class a little bit bigger so that you could maybe have multiple foods on the dish, but then it was getting really complicated because then I was like trying to figure out how to do multiple orders per customer, which I haven't really programmed for yet. So eventually in the future, I will maybe do multiple items per dish, or at least maybe you can hold 2 items and give them both to the customer. But for now, it's just 1 item per dish, and it's working all right. So that's all I've done so far for the food aspect. I've also programmed the entire customer AI. I can't believe I've done this much work. It's been like a month. I guess that's a decent amount of time for this much work. But it's too much to talk about in one video, so the whole customer AI flow state, finite state machine, I always mix those words up. The whole customer AI finite state machine I'm going to talk about in my next video because it's quite long and complex, but really fun and exciting. And it's super buggy right now, but at least I'm showing you what it looks like. So yeah, if you have any questions so far, I can address them in my next video, and then hopefully also I will be integrating more cool functionality into the game. Guys, I'm so excited. This is my first 3D game. It's not even a game. There's no points, there's no money, there's no wait times. It's just a chill little alien space cafe simulation. So yeah, lots of ideas brewing up here. Not enough time to put them all in. And I have so many bugs. It only works now for the specific perfect use case, but like if you try to you could pick up 2 things at once at this point. You could create 2 coffees at the same time at this point. There's so many little bugs that will occur if you don't play it perfectly that I haven't put in the handlers for. So it's still like lots of work needs to be done. Also, I want to say I've been kind of scared about putting out a video about this game because I'm afraid that once it's out there, I'm gonna lose interest and stop working on it. I don't have like a strong plan for releasing this game or turning it into a fully fledged thing. So far it's just a fun project that I'm fiddling around with, and I might just drop at some point. I cannot be sure. So I'm just giving myself the ability to say that so that I don't feel really guilty if I don't work on it. I'm gonna keep working on it for as long as it's fun because that's how I've been doing this. But I'm just excited to share it with you guys because I've learned so much so far, so fast in this process. Anyway, one more thing I wanted to add is tomorrow I'm going on a bike trip into the mountains for a week. So excited. So I may or may not release a video next week. I'm trying to, but if it's not next week, then it will be the week after, and I will talk all about my AI for the customers. And that's also why I didn't release the video last week. We had some friends in from out of town. We've been exploring so much, renting scooters, driving around, and it's been super fun. And I apologize for that delay, but I'm trying my best to balance life and game dev. So that's how it goes. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Mwah! I love you, and I hope you're well, and I hope you get outside today and every day. Bye!